My elder sister was the most talented lady in the capital. She was betrothed to a rough general. I cried my heart out, convinced he would bully her. Especially on the day of her first visit home after marriage, I saw shocking red marks on her neck. Furious, I latched onto Shen Erlang and insisted on marrying into the Shen family to stand up for my sister. Later, my wish came true. Shen Yi pressed me against the couch, showering me with soft kisses that left red marks all over me, exactly like the ones on my sister's neck that day. My mind went blank, and I suddenly understood everything. Your brother didn't mistreat my sister. He let out a low laugh, his breath brushing my ear. Understand now? Too late. My sister was universally acknowledged as the most talented lady in the capital. She was well-read, gentle, and delicate. I had followed her around since I was little, pouring tea, fetching water, grinding ink, and tending to her every need, terrified she would suffer the slightest grievance. The noble young ladies always mocked me, saying the legitimate second daughter of the minister's mansion had turned herself into a family servant. I never got upset, instead lifting my chin proudly and retorting loudly. You wish you could wait on such a wonderful, beautiful sister. Do you even have one? I thought I would serve my sister like this for the rest of my life. But unexpectedly, an imperial edict from the emperor betrothed my sister to General Shen Heng, who had just returned to the capital in triumph after winning a great battle. My heart ached so badly that tears streamed down nonstop. He's a rough man who wields swords and spears all day. My sister is so delicate. He'll bully her to death. No, I'll go tell the Shen family right now that my sister won't marry him. I turned to dash outside, but my sister grabbed my sleeve. She gently wiped the tears from my face, her voice soft but her eyes unusually firm. Defying the imperial edict is a crime that punishes 9 generations of relatives. Besides, General Shen Heng is a heroic warrior who defends his country and fears no death. How could he bully me? Zhou Qiang, a weak woman? My parents nodded in agreement, seemingly quite satisfied with General Shen as their son-in-law. Only I remained worried. I admitted I deeply admired him in my heart. But he spent all year fighting on the battlefield. How could he possibly take good care of my sister? Did he know where to buy the osmanthus cakes my sister loved most? Did he know my sister's delicate skin could only wear fabrics from the famous brocade shop in the capital? Did he know my sister couldn't eat spicy food and broke out in rashes if she ate peanuts? I racked my brain and tried every method, but I still couldn't stop my sister from marrying. It wasn't that she loved Shen Heng deeply, but that she refused to risk the lives of more than 100 people in the Zhou mansion on a gamble. When my sister was carried into the wedding sedan, I cried so hard I could barely breathe. She gently patted the top of my head, smiling helplessly and fondly. Yao be good. You're grown up now. You can't cry like you did when you were little. With that, she slipped the jade bracelet she'd always worn on her wrist onto mine. It was her favorite bracelet. I wanted to say I didn't want it, that I just wanted my sister to stay. But before I could speak, Mother rushed over with the nannies. Hurry and pull the second lady away. Don't delay the auspicious time. The wedding sedan faded into the distance. I lost my appetite for food and drink, sitting in my sister's small courtyard every day waiting. 3 days later, on the first visit home after marriage, my sister finally returned. But she wasn't alone. Standing beside her was Shen Heng, who was a full 2 heads taller than her. Unlike the pale, delicate, noble young masters in the capital, Shen Heng had honey-colored skin. He was clearly a trained martial artist, tall and straight like a pine tree, his sturdy arms thicker than my sister's waist. My eyes immediately turned red with tears. My sister had been with him for 3 full days. Who knew how badly he'd tormented her? I hurried forward, tightly clutching my sister's hand, and looked her over carefully from head to toe. Her skin was as white as snow, with a healthy flush. My sister was still stunningly beautiful. Nothing seemed to have changed. Yet everything felt different. Shen Heng smiled gently pushing my sister into my arms, and teased. If Yao is really unwilling to part with her, I have a younger brother who's just the right age for you. I glared at him furiously, my face burning with embarrassment. He'd already taken my sister away, and now he wanted to trick me into marrying his brother. My sister also reproached him, raising her hand to tap his chest lightly. Marriage is a serious matter. How can you joke about it like this? Only my sister truly loved me. Warmth flooded my heart, and I was about to snuggle into her arms and act coquettish when I glanced up and caught sight of a few shocking red marks peeking out from her neck. Tears burst from my eyes instantly. I pointed at my sister's neck and shouted at Shen Heng angrily. "Shen, how dare you mistreat my sister?" Shen Heng's gaze swept over my sister's neck, and he looked both amused and helpless. "Yaoer, you've misunderstood. Do you think I'm a fool? How dare a great general deny what he'd done?" My anger flared even hotter. "I once respected you as a hero who fought bloody battles on the battlefield, but I never thought you'd lay a hand on my delicate sister." Furious, I raised my fist to punch Shen Heng in the chest. But before my fingertips could touch his clothes, my sister hurriedly grabbed my arm. Her fair cheeks were now red, as if dripping blood. She glanced at Shen Heng shyly and stammered after a moment. "Ah Heng treats me very well. You're still young. You don't understand these things. When you get married one day, you'll naturally know." Shen Heng also spoke solemnly beside her, swearing to heaven. "If I ever hurt a hair on Chiang'er's head, now or in the future, may I die a terrible death." Seeing this, my parents hurried forward to smooth things over. "General Shen, please don't blame her. Yaoer is young, so she's a bit reckless." Shen Heng smiled gently at me, his tone calm. "We're family now. It's nothing." But I refused to buy his act. I stomped on his foot angrily and turned to run away. How dare he bully my sister? I would make him pay for it later. Behind me, I heard father stamping his feet in anger and my sister's soft words defending me. I was completely confused. My sister had come home with injuries, and father, as the current minister, had clearly seen the marks. Why wouldn't he stand up for my sister and instead blame me? I thought it over and over, finally coming to a conclusion. It must be that Shen Heng held great power and high rank. My sister and father were afraid of his authority, so they kept covering for him. But I wasn't afraid of any of that. Even if I had to risk my life, I would never let Shen Heng bully my sister again. Suddenly, Shen Heng's words from earlier flashed through my mind, since he had a younger brother around my age. Then I would marry into the Shen family, become his brother's wife, take charge of the Shen family's inner household, and stand up for my sister and get revenge. To successfully win over Shen Erlang, Shen Yi, I specially found several romantic storybooks and studied carefully how young ladies could win over their beloved gentlemen. Everyone said most men were drawn to beauty. As long as a woman was stunning, looked at him with affection, and beckoned gently, she could make him fall for her. I immediately followed the instructions in the storybooks, put on a thick layer of powder, wore the pearl hairpins and ornaments my sister had just given me, dressed up carefully, and rushed straight to the horse ranch where Shen Yi often went. Unexpectedly, as soon as I saw his figure, I tripped over weeds, stumbled, and fell right in front of him. The young masters around burst into laughter and teased. Little General Shen is truly the top among the capital's young masters. Even girls fall at his feet. Shen Yi glanced coldly at the crowd, his voice cold and stern. "Do you want to lose even more badly this year?" The laughing crowd immediately fell silent, not daring to say another word. I stood up awkwardly, and when my gaze met his, I froze for a moment. I had actually seen Shen Yi on my sister's wedding day, but I had been too sad to look closely at him then. Looking at him up close now, I was shocked to find how handsome and striking he was. He had deep eyes similar to Shen Heng's, but his skin was as fair as cold jade, with a high nose bridge and tightly pressed thin lips, exuding an aloof and unapproachable aura. He stared at me for a long time too, looking a little disbelieving, and asked tentatively, Second Miss Zhou?" Seeing he recognized me, I quickly stood up and put on what I thought was my most beautiful smile. Then I held out my index finger straight at him, curled it gently, and said crisply, "Shen Yi, what do you think of me? Will you marry me?" As soon as the words left my mouth, everything fell silent, except for the sound of the wind. I saw the young master's eyes widen one by one. Shen Yi stood against the sunlight, golden sunset light falling on his shoulders, tinting the tips of his ears a faint red. He stared at me for a long time, scrutinizing me, and finally said firmly, "Second miss is drunk. I'll take you back to the mansion." My first plan had failed, but I didn't get discouraged. The storybook said, when a woman chases a man, there's only a thin veil between them. Have some proper physical contact, then shrink into his arms looking scared and on the verge of tears. No man could resist a woman like that. So when Shen Yi told his attendants to get a carriage, I refused immediately. I get car sickness. The only way to take me back is on horseback. Can you ride a horse? Noble ladies usually focused on learning music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Very few could ride horses. Coincidentally, I was the exception. But I shook my head and glanced at his mount. No, you take me. I wasn't stupid. Would I say I could ride when I had such a good opportunity? Shen Yi's deep eyes scanned my face, found no trace of lying, then swung himself onto the horse and pulled me up with him. When my back pressed against his warm chest, I realized Shen Yi looked thin, but his chest was surprisingly broad and hard as a board. I had planned to act scared of the horse and shrink into his arms, just like the storybook said. But he rode so fast, jolting me up and down, and my back hurt from being pressed against his chest. If I fell into his iron-like chest again, it would kill me. I gritted my teeth, thinking I could endure it. But the pain was too much. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, I twisted around and tugged at his clothes. His face changed suddenly, and he quickly pulled on the reins. I whispered, "Can you slow down? My back hurts so much." He seemed surprised by my words. His body froze, his pupils shrank, and he stammered, "Sorry?" He did slow down. But only when he slowed down did I notice he'd taken a small path. That scoundrel Shen Yi really didn't want to marry me. He was playing such tricks on me. When Shen Yi dropped me off at the mansion gate, Mother happened to be coming back from outside. He dismounted and bowed respectfully to Mother. I ran into Second Miss on the outskirts of the city. Worried for her safety without attendants, I escorted her back. Now that she's safe, I won't stay any longer. Shen Yi didn't mention that I'd been the one to approach him first, and I felt a little grateful to him. I turned to look at him, but he didn't spare me a single glance. Even Mother's expression was strange. Shen Yi's words and deeds were flawless. She thanked him verbally, but her almond eyes held obvious displeasure. Only after Shen Yi left did she stare at me and say blankly, "Yaoer has grown up. Now that your sister is married, Mother should help you choose a husband." I was overjoyed, and the confusion from earlier vanished instantly. I only thought about winning Shen Yi over soon, so I could go to the Shen mansion to be with my sister. Mother would surely be happy for us. But judging from today, Shen Yi didn't seem to like me at all. It was all my fault for being useless. I couldn't even shrink into his arms, trembling and looking pitiful. Nor could I get close to him affectionately to make his heart race. I paced around the courtyard in frustration, and finally came up with another plan. I could make clothes for Shen Yi, then I could get close to him when taking measurements. As far as I knew, Shen Yi was either in the military camp or at the horse ranch on most days. But I'd searched both places today, and everyone said they hadn't seen him. Then the only place he could be was the Shen mansion. I was already exhausted from running around those two places. To save time, I hired a carriage on the spot. When we passed Meizai Pavilion, I specially bought the osmanthus cakes my sister loved. But when I handed them to my sister, I saw the table in front of her was filled with pastries. It was clear they were all from Meizai Pavilion. "Yaoer, try some." Ah Heng knows I love sweet food, so he brings me some almost every day. I pouted. Shen Heng looked rough, but he knew how to care for someone. Still, these small favors couldn't make up for him laying hands on my sister. The safest thing was for me to marry into the family as soon as possible. If he dared to bully my sister under my nose, I'd beat him until he crawled on the ground. The pastries smelled delicious, but thinking of this, I lost my appetite instantly. Sister, you busy yourself. I'm going to see Shen Yi. I said that and turned to dash outside, but my sister grabbed my wrist. Yaoer, mother has already told me about you and Shen Yi. She pulled me and sat down slowly. Her brows were full of gentleness, but just like mother's expression earlier, there was a faint hint of worry in her eyes. You're the legitimate young lady of the minister's mansion, and I've married into the prominent general's mansion. As soon as mother announces you're looking for a husband, matchmakers will break down our door. I stared at my sister, completely confused by her words. Shen Yi is certainly a fine young man, but the border is turbulent every year. The two Shen brothers could put on armor and go to the front line at any time. If you marry him, and… Her voice dropped, and her eyes turned slightly red. What if something happens to him? What will you do? I froze. So when my sister married Shen Heng, she also risked being widowed. That made me even more determined to marry Shen Yi. I quickly calculated in my heart. If anything happened to Shen Heng, I would stay in the Shen mansion with my sister for the rest of my life. Otherwise, she would be all alone. How lonely she would be. All my hesitation vanished instantly. I lifted my head, met my sister's gaze, and said firmly, Sister, Yaoer will marry no one but Shen Yi in this life. My sister opened her mouth as if to say more, but I couldn't sit still any longer. What if Shen Yi slipped out of the mansion while I was talking? Where would I find him then? I scampered out of the room and headed straight for Shen Yi's courtyard. I'd been looking for Shen Yi all day, only to find him practicing swordsmanship in his courtyard. The slanting sun shone down, and he wore only a thin shirt, the sweat-soaked fabric clinging to his body, outlining the smooth lines of his shoulders and back. The sword light danced into a white blur. He turned around and looked right at me. Long legs, a narrow waist, his chest rising and falling slightly, fine beads of sweat sliding down his neck. I froze in place. All the handsome gentlemen in the storybooks combined weren't half as good as the man in front of me. My face suddenly burned. But when I looked up and met his eyes, I saw that his cold jade-like face was red from the tips of his ears to his neck. He seemed to snap out of his daze, hurriedly reaching for his outer robe nearby, putting it on in a fluster. But he put it on backwards. The collar was at the back, the sleeves hanging down, making him look like a fool. I almost laughed out loud. He clutched the backwards worn robe, his voice tight. Second Miss Joe, W.I. Are you here? As soon as he spoke, the smile on my lips faded instantly. We'd ridden the same horse together, yet he was still so distant from me. I pouted unhappily and said to him, Call me A Yao from now on. I pulled a soft measuring tape out of my sleeve and walked toward him. But every step I took forward, he stepped back. I took another step, and he stepped back again. Did he think I was a poisonous snake? I got a little angry, rushed forward a few steps, and grabbed his clothes. He stopped suddenly, not because I'd pulled him, but because his back was pressed against the courtyard wall. He couldn't run away now. I looked up and met his downward gaze. So close, I could see a small bead of sweat hanging on his eyelashes. I want to make you a piece of clothing. I pulled out the measuring tape and wrapped it around his waist. As I spoke, I leaned forward slightly. The storybook said to breathe warm air onto his chest and let my hair brush his skin faintly. But he was as stiff as a piece of wood, showing no reaction except for a trembling voice. Second. Yao, I have enough clothes. You don't have to. He opened his mouth to refuse me again. I wasn't going to give him the chance. I've taken your measurements. I'll bring it to you when it's finished. With that, I turned and ran out of the mansion. Only when I got home and sent for Aunt Lu, the embroiderer, did I learn how hard it was to make clothes. I'd ruined more than 10 meters of fabric just with cutting. Aunt Lu stood aside, wincing at the scraps, and whispered to me, Second Miss, why don't we forget the brocade robe? A simple undershirt is easier, let's make an undershirt. I nodded and agreed. But a new problem came right away. The undershirt needed embroidery, but my fingers were pricked full of holes, and I still couldn't embroider a single decent flower. Aunt Lu beside me frowned tightly, looking more worried than I was. Second Miss, which young master is worth you going to all this trouble? I'm afraid you'll prick your fingers to pieces before you finish the undershirt." Then she suddenly seemed to think of something, her eyes lighting up. "Second miss, let's make a cloak instead. Cloaks are the easiest." I thought for a moment. Right, a cloak was just a piece of cloth with a tie. I would embroider my name under the fabric, and Shen Yi would surely be moved so much that he would have to marry me. But even after I finished the cloak shape, I couldn't even embroider my own name properly. I unpicked and restitched it again and again, and it would take at least 7 or 8 days to finish. If I didn't see Shen Yi for 7 or 8 days, would he fall for someone else? While I was worrying, my sister sent a servant boy to bring me many new jewelry pieces. I stared at the box of jewelry and suddenly slapped my thigh. Right. I couldn't go out, so I could send someone to deliver things. From then on, besides embroidering every day, I also went around to collect small trinkets to send to Shen Yi. At first, he didn't respond. But I sent them every day, 3 or 4 times a day. Gradually, he started sending things back. Sometimes it was a live rabbit he had hunted. Sometimes it was pastries from Meizai Pavilion. Later, they turned into exquisite hairpins and popular cosmetics in the city. I held those items, my heart filled with joy. Shen Yi must have been moved by me. So as soon as I finished the cloak, I couldn't wait to send it to him. The character, Yao, was embroidered so crookedly that I was afraid he wouldn't recognize it. I pointed at the messy stitches seriously and told him, "This is my name." But his gaze fell on my fingers, which were covered in countless small holes. His handsome eyebrows furrowed slightly, and his dark eyes churned with emotion. I thought he must be so moved that he was about to cry. I lifted my face, looking at him expectantly. "Shen Yi, do you want to marry me a little bit now?" He looked down at me, his expression serious, and no longer refused me. Yao, I may seem prosperous, but I'm a man who carries his head on his belt, ready to meet the king of hell at any moment. You sure you want to be with someone like me? Of course I do. As long as I could be with my sister, I could accept anyone. Besides, Shen Yi was so handsome, I was the one who got lucky. But Shen Yi didn't believe me, and asked again in disbelief. Yao, you really want to be with me?" "Yes." I nodded vigorously. He looked at me for a long time. A faint smile curved at the corner of his mouth. Then he took the jade pendant from his waist and pressed it into my hand. I left in a hurry and didn't bring anything valuable. This jade pendant was left to me by my mother before she passed away. She said it can protect people from harm. "I'll give it to you now." I wanted to refuse, but then I thought, this was exactly the scene in the storybooks where a man gives a woman a token of love. So I accepted it generously and tied it around my waist immediately. Then Shen Yi. I looked up at him. "When will you come to propose to me?" Hearing my question, he couldn't help laughing and rubbed the top of my head. Yao, you're so impatient?" His originally dark eyes seemed to sparkle with starlight, and he said firmly, "Don't worry. Within 5 days, I will definitely go to the minister's mansion to propose." With his definite answer, I was so happy that I almost jumped up. "Shen Yi, liars will turn into puppies. I'll be waiting for you at home." But I waited day after day. 5 days passed. Then, another 5. I didn't get the news of Shen Yi's proposal. Instead, I heard that he had gone to the outskirts of the city to relax. How dare he trick me like this? Furious, I forgot to act delicate. I led the top-quality horse my father had raised specially for me, squeezed my legs hard, and galloped toward the outskirts. But when I reached the outskirts, I was completely stunned. Shen Yi wasn't relaxing at all. He was surrounded by a group of assassins. Amid the flashing swords and shadows, his face was pale, sweat beaded on his forehead, and his movements were obviously slow. He was definitely injured. My heart twisted with pain instantly. It was at least half an hour's ride from here to the city. If I went to get reinforcements, I might as well come back to collect Shen Yi's body. I gritted my teeth, pulled the sword from the horse, and charged forward. Yao? Shen Yi turned his head and saw me. The panic that suddenly appeared on his always cold face was striking. "Don't come here. Go." But the assassins reacted faster than him. They seemed to have noticed something, stopped pestering Shen Yi, and turned toward me all at once. I had learned martial arts since I was little, but these men were clearly well trained. After 3 or 5 rounds, I was at a disadvantage. Suddenly, a long sword stabbed at me with fierce force. I couldn't dodge it at all. Just as I was about to take the blow head-on, my waist suddenly tightened. A big hand pulled me back. Then, the world spun around, and Shen Yi and I switched places. The next second, I heard the sound of a blade piercing flesh. Shen Yi. He didn't answer, just held me tightly in his arms. His gaze swept around, and his voice was low and powerful. "It's okay. Get on the horse." A sharp whistle sounded. A brown-red steed galloped out of the forest, not far away. I recognized it. It was the horse Shen Yi had ridden to take me home that day. Shen Yi wrapped his arm around me and swung us onto the horse. He squeezed his legs, and the steed neighed and galloped out. The wind howled. Shen Yi's chest was still broad, but this time it was warm and sticky. The smell of blood filled my nose. I didn't dare look back. The assassins chased us closely behind, and the sound of hooves grew louder. But ahead, there was a cliff. Shen Yi pulled on the reins. He held me and dismounted. Only then did I see his chest. A large area of blood had seeped through, soaking his clothes. The reinforcements must have been held back. His voice was hoarse. He glanced at the bottomless abyss behind him, then looked down at me. His gaze was gentler than ever. Yao, are you scared?" I understood what he meant. My legs couldn't help shaking, and tears fell uncontrollably. But I gritted my teeth and said, "I would rather die than be humiliated." Yao is not afraid. The corner of his mouth twitched, as if he wanted to smile. Then he suddenly slapped the horse hard. The frightened steed rushed deep into the forest. At the same time, my body felt light. He held me tightly in his arms and jumped off the cliff. The wind filled my ears, and my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. But this feeling didn't last long. The sword on Shen Yi's wrist suddenly slid and stabbed hard into the cliff wall. Sparks flew, and the falling momentum stopped abruptly. Then we rolled into a cave. Good news, Shen Yi and I wouldn't fall to our deaths. Bad news, if no one found us, we wouldn't live long either. Because this cave was just a cave. Bare stone walls, cold ground, nothing at all. I scanned the surroundings and finally couldn't help crying out loud. "Shen Yi, are we really going to die here?" He leaned against the stone wall, his face as pale as a ghost. But he frowned at me. "Are you scared now? Those were well-trained dead men. How dare you rush over?" I cried even more aggrievedly. "I was worried about you." As soon as the words came out, both Shen Yi and I froze. He stared at me blankly for a long time, then suddenly held my hand scratched by stones. Yao, I told you a long time ago that I'm a man who can meet the king of hell at any moment." His voice was low. He pulled out a small green bottle from nowhere and sprinkled the powder on my wound. It was icy cold and didn't hurt at all. I suddenly remembered something and snatched the bottle. "Save it. Your wounds need it more." With that, I pulled open Shen Yi's collar without hesitation. I had no idea what I would see until I opened it. Countless old and new wounds on his body were oozing blood. The deepest one was the one he took for me, which had soaked through his clothes. Tears streamed down my face. "My hands are just scratched. You're this badly hurt, yet you're still putting on a brave face." My hands shook as I applied the medicine to him, being extra careful not to hurt him. He just hung his head and stared at me fixedly. "Yao," he suddenly said, his voice a little hoarse. "Don't blame me for breaking my promise." My hands paused. News came from the capital that the Zhongnu prince intended to start a war and planned to assassinate the 2 Shen brothers to cut off our dynasty's main generals. My elder brother is already married, so I volunteered to be the bait to lure him out. But there was a traitor. The reinforcements were held back, and I almost died at their hands. A few stray strands of hair fell onto Shen Yi's hand. He stroked my already soft hair over and over again, as if looking at a priceless treasure. I always felt that Shen Yi was different from before. But he still had the same face, still as handsome. I really couldn't tell what had changed. After applying the medicine, I wanted to tear his collar into strips to bandage him, but he stopped my hand and refused to let me. Oh Yao. Number. It would damage your reputation. I glared at him. We're a man and a woman alone together for the night. Do you think I still have a reputation? Or did you just trick me when you promised to propose to me that day? The light was dim, but I could still see Shen Yi's handsome face clearly. Firm, stubborn, and other emotions I couldn't understand. I would never break my promise if I wasn't afraid of involving you. But when his gaze fixed on the back of my hand, his eyes were filled with guilt. Yao, do you regret it now? I stared at him, avoided answering, and asked word by word instead. So when exactly are you going to come to my mansion to propose? A trace of joy crossed his face, and he suddenly became solemn. Stay alive. As long as we stay alive. But I was afraid he would go back on his word again. The ultimate trick for a woman chasing a man in the storybooks popped into my mind unconsciously. Sleep with a man, so he had to marry her. I imitated the women in the paintings, wrapped my arms around Shen Yi's neck, and said crisply in his ear, Shen Yi, let's sleep together. Then you can't go back on your word. As soon as the words fell, he coughed violently, his face turning red with coughing. Who taught you these things? From the storybooks. Many women win their beloved men this way. His face turned red as if bleeding. He reached out to push me away, but I clung to him like an octopus and wouldn't let go. Finally, he seemed to give in, sighed, and looked up at me. Tell me the truth. Why are you so eager to marry me? I carefully recalled how women in the storybooks deceived men and imitated them perfectly. You're the most handsome man I've ever seen, so I fell in love with you at first sight. His dark eyes sank, obviously not believing it. He gritted his teeth. Tell the truth. You're a great hero who defends the country, so I admire you. He laughed out of anger. Then my elder brother is even more suitable. At the mention of Shen Heng, I instantly became anxious. Who would want to marry Shen Heng, that villain who hits weak women? My sister would never have married your brother if the emperor hadn't ordered it. The smile on Shen Yi's face froze. My elder brother is a villain? He hits weak women? Who has been spreading such nonsense? I put my hands on my hips angrily, pointed at his nose, and said, I saw it with my own eyes. On the day my sister came home after marriage, her neck was covered with red marks. Who else but that bastard Shen Heng would abuse my sister like this? Shen Yi froze. Neck? Red marks? He suddenly seemed to realize something. His gloomy face turned bright red instantly, and even his voice lost its confidence. Yao, you've misunderstood. You'll understand this when we get married. I punched him angrily in the chest. Great. You want to abuse me just like your elder brother. I'll tell you, I tried every way to marry you just to stand up for my sister. If Shen Heng dares to bully my sister in front of me, I'll make him regret it. Although I held back my strength, the wound on his chest was shaken and started bleeding again. I hurried to take out the medicine bottle, but he didn't look at it. He just stared straight at me. So, you want to marry me only for your sister? Even though he said that, after getting along these days, I found that Shen Yi was really a good person, especially when he risked his life to block the sword for me today. But he looked at me with a strange, listless gaze, like an eggplant beaten by frost. I asked him carefully, You're not going to refuse to marry me again, are you? He met my gaze. The cave was dim, but his eyes were extremely firm. No matter what, I will never break my promise again. It wasn't until I saw Shen Heng that I learned this cave was part of their plan. But unexpectedly, it really saved both of our lives. At this moment, Shen Yi leaned on my shoulder. When he saw the person coming, he pulled a weak smile. Elder brother. Shen Heng strode over. When he saw that the person next to Shen Yi was me, he raised his hand and punched Shen Yi in the chest. It was exactly the spot where he had blocked the sword for me, and had started bleeding again after I punched it. Now the wound was bleeding again. How did you get Yaoer involved? Shen Heng gritted his teeth, his voice extremely low. If your sister-in-law finds out, she'll skin me alive. He spoke with fear, but his deep eyes were full of tenderness and doting. Somehow, I felt that Shen Heng had also changed. But I didn't bother to figure him out. I said coldly to him, General Shen, another punch and you can hold a funeral for your younger brother. Shen Heng's movements paused. He looked up at me again, messy disheveled hair, tears all over my face, hands still stained with Shen Yi's blood. Then he looked at Shen Yi beside me, who was shirtless but neatly bandaged. The corner of his mouth slowly curved up. Oh. Shen Heng dragged out his tone. So that's how it is. Shen Yi leaned against the stone wall, his chest still bleeding, but when he turned to look at me, his eyes curved into a smile, and he laughed along. Shen Yi, what? What are you laughing at? He just stared at me and didn't say a word. I really suspected that his elder brother had beaten him silly. This matter was of great importance. Before parting, Shen Yi warned me again and again to keep it a secret. I nodded solemnly, still not forgetting to ask him. Then when will you come to propose? He looked down at me, his gaze as soft as spring lake water. Don't worry, Yao. As soon as I handle the matter at hand, I'll go to your door first thing. I believed him. But he broke his promise again. 5 days later, the news came from the palace that the 2 Shen brothers were going to war. Somehow, my heart felt heavy. I, who had always had a good appetite, suddenly lost my taste for anything. That empty feeling was exactly the same as when my sister had just gotten married. When the servant boy came to report, I was staring blankly at the pomegranate tree in the corner. Second Miss, General. General Shen II is here. My heart skipped a beat. But when he walked into the courtyard, I deliberately turned my back to him and ignored him. The sound of footsteps circled in front of me. He slipped from left to right, then right to left like a loach. Finally, he stood honestly in front of me and pulled something out from behind his back. A whip inlaid with rubies. I recognized it at a glance. It was a treasure from the famous custom shop in the city, which I had wanted for a long time. My hand almost reached out involuntarily. But when I met his smiling eyes, I suddenly woke up. I swung my fist at him angrily. Liar! I don't want a liar's things. But he grabbed my fist and pressed the whip into my palm. After learning that you're excellent at horse riding, I specially had this made for you. He actually found out that I could ride a horse? Thinking of how I had lied to him that day, I blushed in embarrassment. When I looked up again, he solemnly handed a wooden box to me. I opened it in confusion. Inside were neatly stacked land deeds, shop deeds, and a thick pile of banknotes. I, Shen Yi, am not talented. These are all I've saved over the years. I seemed to know what he was going to say. This trip is dangerous. If I come back alive, these belongings should be taken care of by you. He paused, his Adam's apple rolling. If I don't come back, this will be my dowry for you. He stared at me, every word firm and powerful. I had never been a crier, but at this moment, I couldn't hold back my tears, which fell one by one. Shen Yi, you'll come back alive, right? Shen Yi also panicked, obviously. He clumsily raised his hand and wiped my tears with his fingertips. Don't cry, Yao. I will definitely try my best to come back alive. At most 6 months. In 6 months, I will definitely come back to marry you. If you're in a bad mood, the banknotes in the box are enough for you to buy many fun things. I've also arranged for Mai Zai Pavilion. Someone will bring you pastries as soon as they're out of the oven every day. But I stared at him blankly, as if I didn't want anything, just wanted him to stay. The words came to my lips, but I thought of the rumors. The Xiongnu invaded, the border was in crisis, and the people were displaced. I sniffled and swallowed that little bit of selfishness. When I looked up again, the tears had stopped. Only 6 months? I can wait. Shen Yi said it was too early the day they set off, and told me not to see him off. But the night before, I didn't sleep a wink. I stumbled over. My sister was already standing at the front of the crowd. Her face was haggard, with faint, dark circles under her eyes. Obviously, she hadn't slept all night either. I walked over and gently held her hand. Her hand was cold, like ice. Sister. I squeezed her hand tightly. Brother-in-law will definitely come back safe and sound. And Shen Yi. He was a few years younger than Shen Heng, but the youngest deputy general in the dynasty. My gaze drifted to him unconsciously. He was riding a war horse, and his silver armor made him look majestic. But the cloak on him was really mismatched. It was jujube bread, made of good fabric, but the stitches were rough. A crooked character, Yao, was embroidered on the corner, which was completely out of place with his silver armor. In an instant, tears welled up in my eyes again. After drinking the farewell wine, the army began to move. Shen Yi suddenly looked up. Through the dense crowd, through countless fluttering banners and helmet tassels, he looked at me. He lifted his chin. His lips moved, making no sound. But I understood what he was saying. He said, "Ah, Yao, wait for me." After the two Shen brothers went to war, I ran to the general's mansion as soon as I opened my eyes every day. I told my sister jokes, accompanied her on outings, and tried every way to cheer her up. I laughed when she laughed, but as I laughed, my eyes would unconsciously drift toward Shen Yi's courtyard. The courtyard was empty, with the door tightly closed. A sudden pain stabbed my heart. At first, I thought I had eaten something bad. Later, I found that whenever I heard the name, Shen Yi, my heart hurt. Sometimes it was a slight pain, like being bitten by a mosquito. Sometimes it was a sharp pain, like being squeezed and kneaded hard. When I couldn't sleep at night, I took out those storybooks again and read them page by page. As I read, I suddenly understood why my heart hurt. Because I missed Shen Yi. But what else could I do for him? So on the 15th day of every month, I went to the temple to burn incense with my sister. I had never been able to sit still, but now I knelt in front of the Buddha for hours. I prayed to the Buddha to bless our army with a great victory and Shen Yi's safe return. At the same time, I secretly called him heartless. Shen Heng sent letters to my sister every few days to report his safety, but Shen Yi never wrote me a single letter. I imagined Shen Yi as a small stone, and stepped on him hard with my foot. My sister saw this and didn't ask anything, just smiled gently. She took a stack of letters out from under her pillow and handed them to me. "See for yourself." I took them in confusion. Shen Heng's handwriting was bold and powerful, writing densely, covering everything in detail. From how many miles they had repelled the enemy to how the villagers sent food and insisted that they taste it, until the end of each letter. That line was completely different from the ones above. Much more delicate, much more elegant, obviously written by someone else. Shen Yi is safe. Sister-in-law sends regards to A Yao on his behalf. I froze. I couldn't help flipping through letter after letter. At the end of every letter, it was this same sentence. Not a single word different. Tears fell like broken beads. But I smiled. 3 months after Shen Yi went to war, a large number of refugees flooded into the city. My father went to the palace more and more frequently, his eyebrows furrowed tightly, as if they had never relaxed. I knew what he was worried about. The war at the border was tight, and all grain was sent to the front line. How could the court have extra capacity to take care of these displaced people? My sister and I reached the same idea without speaking. We took out our private savings, sold our gold and silver jewelry, and set up porridge sheds in the city. Our strength was small, but at least we could keep the people from starving to death. During another porridge distribution, a 7 or 8-year-old boy suddenly ran up to my sister. "They say you're the general's wife, so you're General Shen Heng's wife, right?" The old woman beside him turned pale with fear, knelt down with a plop, and kowtowed. "Madam, please forgive him. The child is young and talks nonsense. Please don't take it to heart." My sister froze for a moment, then bent down to help the old woman up. She forced a smile, but there was something indescribable in that smile. She touched the boy's innocent little face and said softly, "Yes, Shen Heng is my husband." She was speaking to the boy, but her gaze passed over him and fell on the refugees in front of the porridge shed. She was small in stature, but at this moment, I suddenly felt that she was as tall as Shen Hung. I know you've all been displaced because of the war. Her voice was not loud, but it reached everyone's ears clearly. I'm just a woman, I can't go to the battlefield to fight. But I will do my best to help you through this difficult time. She paused. I believe the war will end soon. You will all go home. The porridge shed fell silent for a moment. Then someone cried. Someone wiped their tears and came over, saying they wanted to help. Gradually, more helpers came to the shed, washing rice, adding firewood. The boy from just now tilted his head to look at my sister, then at me, and stepped closer. Are you the madam's younger sister? I nodded. He suddenly smiled, his round eyes bright. Then is your sweetheart General Shen Yi? I was speechless for a moment, but he spoke excitedly. When the Xiongnu burned, killed, and looted our village, General Shen Yi saved my grandma and me. He was stabbed with a sword and lost a lot of blood. I was so scared. I asked him if he was going to die. He paused, imitating Shen Yi's tone, putting on a straight face. Nonsense. I won't die. My sweetheart is waiting for me to go back and marry her. After saying that, his eyes turned red. My eyes also turned red. I squatted down and touched his head. Yes, Shen Yi is my sweetheart. He will come back alive to marry me. My sister and I's deeds won the praise of the people, attracting many noble young masters to follow suit. The refugees in the city were given shelter and relief food to survive. By this time, I had changed from autumn clothes to thick cotton-padded clothes. 6 months had passed, but Shen Yi still hadn't come back. Obviously, my sister had received a letter saying they had won the war. That night, as I sat in the courtyard looking at the stars, I suddenly heard father say quietly to mother, "He's badly injured. I'm afraid it will be a little longer." My heart twisted instantly. I ran all the way in. Who's injured? But mother avoided my eyes, not daring to look at me. It's Dawang. Uncle Lu's Dawang was bitten by a wild dog. I knew they were lying. My chest felt blocked by a stone. I suddenly didn't dare to ask any more. The early spring wind was still cool, but the pomegranate tree in the courtyard had sprouted new buds. I was standing under the tree staring blankly when father suddenly rushed in. They're back. Both Shen brothers are back. As soon as the words fell, I saw old tears streaming down his face. I froze. One moment, another moment. Then I jumped up like a rabbit and ran toward the gate. But before I could run out of the courtyard gate, I crashed straight into a wall. A warm, hard, breathing wall. Yao. The voice fell from above, hoarse and trembling. I suddenly looked up. Tears burst out of my eyes instantly. Shen Yi. He was back. He really was back. He had lost weight, and his skin was much darker. His eyes were still as good-looking, but there was something more about him. Calmness, steadiness, that made people feel at ease just by looking at him. A new scar had appeared on his face. It stretched from his forehead to his ear, like a centipede lying on his face, ferocious and shocking. I didn't dare to imagine how much pain he had been in. All I knew was that my hand had lifted, my fingertips trembling, and I gently touched it. But he thought I was scared. He lowered his face. I'm disfigured. His voice was low, with caution. Does what you said before still count? I froze. Not to mention that our peaceful life was bought by these people who shed their blood on the front line. I had waited for him to come back every day for the past 8 months, wiping tears secretly every night. How dare he think I was a shallow person who only cared about beauty? I glared at him, pretending to be angry. What? Is General Shen going to break his promise again? He looked up. The cautious look on his face instantly bloomed like a flower. The next second, he pulled me tightly into his arms, so tight that he wanted to rub me into his bones. He was so excited that he babbled. No, I will never break my promise again. I didn't even enter the palace first. I came straight to you. I was afraid you would regret it. I was afraid you. I stood on tiptoe and blocked his chattering mouth. The spring breeze passed by us, brushing the new buds of the pomegranate tree. 1,000 words finally turned into one sentence. Shen Yi, I missed you so much." After Shen Yi entered the palace, he was followed by a respectable eunuch and a steady stream of rewards. "Miss Shen II, you're so blessed. General Shen II has won so many military merits, but he asks for no official position or reward. He only begs the emperor to grant him a marriage to you. Kneel and receive the edict." The news of the imperial marriage spread, and both the Shen and Zhou families were extremely glorious. Even on the wedding day, I was still in a daze. Did I really marry Shen Yi? My sister told me that I mustn't lift the veil myself until Shen Yi lifted it. But as soon as I heard movement at the door, I couldn't help throwing the veil aside. The jumping candlelight shone on my bright face. Shen Yi stood at the door, staring at me blankly. He was also wearing a wedding robe. The red color set off his picturesque eyebrows. Only the scar on his forehead was still there, but it added a bit of heroism to him. "Yao, I finally married you." Somehow, the cold jade-like general had turned into the tender and affectionate man in front of me. He approached me and kissed me. Softly, carefully, as if holding something fragile. Gradually, the kiss became nostalgic, overbearing, and wild. A month of longing was poured out in this moment. I had already turned into a soft puddle. My wedding robe had been randomly thrown on the ground by Shen Yi at some point. "Shen Yi, I feel a little uncomfortable." But his eyes darkened. Not only didn't he stop, but he kissed his way down. I looked down at those red marks, big and small. My mind went blank, and I suddenly understood everything. "Your brother didn't mistreat my sister." He stared at me, his gaze burning, and said word by word, "The Shen family's motto, never betray the country, and never fail one's wife." He slowly lowered the tent. The carved wooden bed creaked until dawn. I was so tired that my eyelids fought to stay open. I heard him whisper in my ear, "Yao, Shen Yi loves you." I mumbled and curved my mouth. "Me too."